With me now with more on this is Randy Erwin. He is the president of the National Federation of Federal Employees. Good morning to you, Randy. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you.
Your union represents, as far as I understand, more than 100,000 federal workers. And I bet you've heard from a great many of them. How is the shutdown impacting them?
Well, it's impacting them in very bad ways. People have lost their paychecks. It was around the holidays, so just the amount of stress level that it has caused was really bad for hundreds of thousands of people, ones that we represent and other federal employees across the country. And they're worried. They don't know how long this shutdown is going to go. I mean, the president's saying it's going to be a long shutdown. This is economic catastrophe for families, a lot of them that make as little as $26,000 a year, and it's just a serious situation for them.
The president says that federal workers have been telling him that they support the shutdown. Take a listen.
Many of those workers have said to me and communicated, stay out until you get the funding for the wall. These federal workers want the wall.
So, Randy, my question to you, are federal workers telling you that they support the shutdown so the president can build a border wall?
I've spoken to dozens and dozens of federal employees across the country in the last several days, and no, I am not hearing that at all. Federal employees do not support a shutdown. I can't say one or two didn't tell the president that, but by and large, the vast majority of federal employees are very concerned about this and don't want a shutdown or a furlough.
I'd also like to get your reaction to this tweet that we know was sent out by the Office of Personnel Management, suggesting that employees send letters to their landlords and even offer to maybe, trade out services such as painting or carpentry in exchange for partial rent payments. In your mind, is that a reasonable plan for most federal workers?
And it's sad that it's come to this. I can't believe this is the guidance that's going out. They shouldn't be sending letters to their landlords asking for odd jobs. They should be sending letters to Congress, particularly to Republican members of Congress that are standing with this president. One thing that people don't realize is that in 2013, Standard & Poor did a review of how much it was costing the government shutdown. That was happening in 2013. It costs about $1.5 billion per day. That's money that gets pulled out of the economy every day that we have a shutdown. And let me tell you, the economy has been sputtering already, and this is going to impact people across the country. I'm very concerned that we are precipitating, a recession in this country. So the letter writing that should happen is people to the Republican caucus, getting them to have a backbone, stand up to this president, and don't go off the cliff with him by precipitating, economic decline by this shutdown.
Yeah, in many ways, Americans who don't have a job in federal government may not fully understand, exactly what sort of jobs we're talking about. We think of the important or life-saving jobs. But there are many other jobs that are vitally important to the day-to-day of government. What are some of the people who you oversee as far as the union? What kind of jobs do they have, and what do they do to help us?
Sure. Well, I mean, one thing people got to realize that it's not a Washington thing. People think of federal employees in Washington, but only 15% of federal workers are in the D.C., Northern Virginia, Maryland area. 85% are spread throughout the country, doing work in every community across the country. So no matter where you are, there are your friends and neighbors that are being directly impacted by this. And yeah, what hasn't been discussed very much is how services that the American people benefit from are suffering. We represent a lot of workers, about 20,000 in the U.S. Forest Service. Last year, we had the worst fire season on record. Entire communities were burnt to the ground. It was a very sad thing. We represent the workers that are supposed to be tending to our national forests right now, clearing brush, doing all the things to make sure that next year's fire season isn't even worse. And they're sitting on their hands. Those people want to go to work so that we don't have, a terrible fire season, and they can protect their communities. Those are the kind of things that aren't happening because of this ridiculous shutdown.
Yeah. Randy Erwin, thanks for reminding all of us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.